Pelé was crowned in triumph here. Maradona built football mythology into its concrete. And there is one place in the modern world that does not need giant screens or marketing to prove its importance. It shows it through presence alone. Estadio Azteca, June 2026. Mexico City. The descent feels strange before you understand why. Out the airplane window, the city stretches forever. Buildings packed tightly into a giant bowl, surrounded by mountains that look almost unreal through the haze. Then the landing gear comes down, and somewhere around that moment your breathing feels slightly off. Not bad, just different. Like your lungs missed a meeting they were never told about. Then, someone behind you coughs loudly. Another passenger starts drinking water fast, like they are crossing a desert. And suddenly you remember something simple. Mexico City sits at 7,240 feet above sea level. Your body notices before your brain catches up. You are here for Azteca. Opened in 1966, capacity just under 87,000, the only stadium in the world to host 2 World Cup finals. This is not a modern stadium trying to prove itself. It already knows what it is. That confidence changes everything around it. But before football history, Mexico City introduces you to traffic. Aggressively. People make the same mistake every time. They look at the distance from the airport to the stadium, 12 miles, and they think it is nothing. That thought does not survive long. 12 miles here can change your mood completely. 21 million people move through a city built for far fewer. On match day, tens of thousands of football fans join the flow, all running on excitement, caffeine, and very little sleep. Leave the airport around 9 in the morning, and the ride takes 45 minutes, maybe an hour. After 1 in the afternoon, you stop measuring distance in miles. You start measuring it in songs you listen to while staring at the same motorcycle beside your window for 20 straight minutes. Local taxi drivers move differently. They slip into side streets that Google Maps barely understands. Small roads, residential cuts, sudden turns. At least twice you will think the driver is making things up. Then, suddenly the stadium appears and you arrive 10 minutes earlier than expected. No explanation. The metro also works. Technically, Mexico City's metro is impressive right until every football fan decides to use it at the same time. Line 2 south or a connection through Line 12. Azteca even has its own station, which sounds perfect until 87,000 people try to exit onto the same platform. Nobody panics, everyone just accepts it. The walk from the station is normally 8 minutes. On World Cup match day, it becomes 30, sometimes 40 when kickoff is close. And all the while, altitude is working on you quietly. That is the strange part of Mexico City. It does not hit like a mountain climb. It is more subtle. You sweat a little more than normal. Your breathing never fully settles. Your legs feel heavier on any incline. One staircase becomes a small debate with yourself about your fitness level. Watch confident tourists who say altitude does not affect them. They usually go quiet halfway up the concrete ramps. At this height, your lungs can complain all they want. The city does not negotiate. By the time you reach the gates, the atmosphere begins to shift. Vendors shouting over each other, smoke from grills moving through the crowd, flags everywhere, music bouncing off concrete, someone nearby carrying 5 beers with absolute confidence. Then, you walk inside. The first thing you feel is not modern design. It is age, real age. The concrete is worn. Paint fades in uneven patches. The tunnels smell like history, humidity, grilled meat, and stress. Somehow, it all works together. Modern stadiums often feel too perfect, too polished, designed to impress investors more than fans. Azteca feels built for football first. The seating bowl rises steeply into the sky. From some sections, the upper deck seems to hang over you. The sound is unreal. When the crowd gets loud, it does not just surround you, it hits you physically. It bounces off concrete and comes back stronger. Your chest feels it. Even your seat vibrates during big moments. No roof, no special sound system. Just decades of football, altitude, and collective emotion working together. Players talk about Azteca differently. Not as a stadium, but as a condition. Altitude slows recovery, crowd pressure speeds up decisions. History adds weight whether players admit it or not. Every sprint costs more energy. Every mistake feels larger. Small moments become bigger very quickly. Where you sit changes everything. Upper-level tickets start around $150. Cheap compared to most World Cup venues. The view is excellent. You can see formations, movement, passing. Mid-level seats around $250 give a better balance. You see detail, body language, frustration before it turns into mistakes. Lower sections range from $450 to $600. Down there, the game feels intense. You hear tackles before you fully see them. You hear players shouting instructions. Every impact echoes through the crowd. But even the cheap seats are good here. The steep design keeps the field close no matter where you sit. One warning people learn too late is the sun. West side seats get hit hard during afternoon games. The sun feels stronger at this altitude. More direct, more draining. 90 minutes outside slowly turns people into exhausted versions of themselves while they keep insisting they are fine. Bring sunscreen. Bring a hat. You will see at least one person who ignores this and regrets it deeply by halftime. Food inside is surprisingly reasonable. Not stadium reasonable. Actually reasonable. Beer around $6. Tacos around $4. Tortas around $5. And the food is genuinely good. Not good for a stadium, just good. Water costs about $2. Buy it. Altitude dehydration arrives quietly. One moment you feel normal. The next you stand up too fast and briefly regret everything. Then kickoff approaches. The noise begins as a low hum. It spreads through sections. Drums join in. Then whistles. Then chants. The rhythm feels older than the match itself. When the anthem plays, the stadium becomes enormous. When the match starts, the crowd does not watch football. It participates in it. Fans pressure referees, pressure opponents, pressure everything happening on the pitch. This atmosphere cannot be copied. Not with technology, not with screens, not with money. Azteca has something modern stadiums cannot buy. Time. You feel it in the concrete, in the reactions of the crowd, in the way fans sense danger before it develops. Generations of football memory live inside this place. After the final whistle, Azteca gives one last challenge: leaving. Exit immediately, and you join 60,000 people at once. The metro fills, traffic stops, prices for rides become unreasonable. Wait 20 minutes, and everything changes. Crowds thin. Streets move again. The city returns to flow. That is Azteca. It rewards patience. It punishes assumptions. And if you arrive thinking you already understand famous football stadiums, it explains the difference between famous and historic.